There we go, everybody. Now, put your best selves forwards. No talking about the weather anymore. Great. So we're up to 140 listings this week. It's growing extremely quickly. We have doubled in size in the last 3 weeks, and I just want to welcome all the new people that have joined us, particularly on this call, Michelle, that's LLE, Diane. Tamsin's been with us for ages and has joined us again from South Africa. It's great to see you. Sloan has just parachuted in, is seriously just taking control over her profile and listing, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. So thanks all of you for joining us. A little bit later on, Sabrina's going to chat a little bit about diversity, equity and inclusion and what she's up to, and to reinstigate the diversity, equity and inclusion workshop that we had going on I can't remember whether it's weekly or bi-weekly. For us, that means every 2 weeks, but one of those two anyway. She'll bring you up to date on that when she joins us a little bit later on. Victoria, do you have anything to start with, or shall I kick off?
Go ahead. Or would you like me to talk about the new feature on the website?
Would you like to start, and I will share, shall I?
Okay, sure. I can share, no problem.
Go on then.
So right now we've got a few new things. We have our intercom, we have our chat, live chat. So when we get new inquiries, questions, anything, it goes here, and we are basically 24 hours answering everything here. So if you also want to send us a message through here, I would be taking the message during my hours, and then Robert would be receiving afterwards. We also have a new feature that you guys were asking for. And once you create your listing, let me come here. So once you create your listing, you start here, you select your category. Now you're able to choose if it's a per person, so if the price is per person, or if it's a global one payment. So I think that's going to be useful. And what I'm doing right now is the ones that had that description and specified that the price was per person, I'm changing it, and I'm doing that for you. However, if you didn't have that specified, it would be great for you to help us and log on and make that adjustment.
So let's just repeat that for those people who are listening to this again. There will be two listing types, a per person or a single payment for a business. And so you'll see a keynote, a group workshop or so forth, in the thousands of dollars, and a per person event in the single figures.
So for example, Rob Salafia charges this rate per person for his virtual learning event, but we also have, for example, Sloan here, and she created, oh, it's not here.
I just saved it, maybe refresh. It should be there somewhere.
Okay, give me a sec, because this thing is just in my way.
You've got about 30 Elevate windows open.
Yeah.
Impressive. I can do it if you can't find it.
Just give me a sec.
So the idea around these two things is quite significant and important. Whilst we drive business development, and I've got some updates for you on that, we can improve our ratings and reviews by the ratings and reviews actually attached to your profile, not to the listing itself. So with Sloan here, she's doing a workshop as a special event, which is one of Sloan's, I guess, specialized activities. Sloan, would that be right? And you've done this on a number of occasions previously. It's something that works really well. and we were just talking about it as a kind of lunch and learn type of approach. So to do this on a per person works really nicely. Now, initially, a attractive price, $25 per person. And, you know, I bought one this morning. I'm very excited about going. Initially, that would be then, it'll be acceptable if it's sort of between sort of 25 and 50 people, shall we say. That means after this event, there'll be 25 to 50 positive reviews, obviously, because this, you know, that's the baseline. Everybody's excellent, and we'll all have a wonderful time. There'll be lots of reviews, and those reviews are going to attach to Sloan's profile rather than to listings themselves. So anybody who's looking at Sloan's B2B work, thousands of dollars for workshops and other bits and pieces, they'll see all those reviews and be able to see compare like for like. Does that make sense? So did you manage to get that saved? Sorry, I wouldn't see. You just showed that listing. If you look at that compared to some of the other listings, you'll see what I think would be great for you guys. Some of you may want to do this, some of you may not. Some of you have already done it on Elevate in our previous incarnations, where we did live events on LinkedIn, live events on Zoom, and so on and so forth. And I think that this will help greatly to bring in potential customers of yours, get support from your community in Elevate, and also allow us to amplify. So Michelle Smith, if you were, for example, listing, one of your listings can turn into an event. We can identify a date. Who was I speaking to earlier about this? Mark in Germany was saying, well, he's going to identify a date for his first, which is a bit like a kind of hybrid of his keynote, which he's doing in Germany. Mark Wallet, who's on our listings, you might be able, you should check him out, was hijacked by Islamist terrorists for 6 months in an island in Indonesia, and that's his keynote story is how he got through that with resilience and good humor and faith and so forth. And
wow,
I'm sort of super keen that all of you who have these stories to tell can actually apply those to on a per person basis to business. So several reasons why, just to reiterate, the why is that, you know, we can target the kinds of businesses that would buy that at full market rate. So for Mark, for Frank, who's delivered his talk at $10,000 a time, a 9/11 story, we're going to duplicate that story at maybe $25 a time to start with, to get those reviews coming through. But we're actually going to be targeting at that $25 on our side, the US construction industry, so that we just get the maximum number of people that's in our target audience to watch that on an individual basis and then socialize on it. So Sloan, does that sort of make sense? If we talk, when we're in the amplification business, so once we've got your agency and your enthusiasm on that listing, you'll do your own social post, link with us on LinkedIn, and then we'll go to town with our own network to amplify that. I guess those things need to work together to make this work nicely. So we'll do a little bit of thinking about that, those of you who want to go forward on that basis, because I think it's a really, really good way of sort of positively increasing your ratings and reviews. Chat, Ali.
I'm excited about this opportunity. I want to say, Robert, and hopefully at some point I don't know if I think there's someone reached out to me. I do want to kind of talk about the process, how you set your pricing, and that, you know, the targeting you're talking about. Some point, just I'll have some questions to, you know, want to talk to someone about that. So, but someone reached out to me, so I'll by email reach out to them and have those discussions.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you a quick overview in the sense that it is useful for everybody. And thanks so much for that. I really appreciate it. We're a community. I think that if we maintain that authenticity, the truthfulness, and our own capacity and agency to set your own price and your own listing, Michelle, that is something that really is impactful. Stephanie, hi. It's good to not to see you, Stephanie, and you kind of know what I mean. Ali, you had a question. I don't know why your listings are not visible. That will be down to Victoria, who has editorial control.
So
yeah,
I explained in the chat that it was because we had eliminated the previous option, but now she's updated it and it's now, I think she said it was per person, so it's now live.
Okay.
yeah.
So thank you. So back to Michelle Smith quickly, because I think it's important for everybody to know that, you know, we're you know, a month old and also a couple of years old. We're a month old in this kind of market community context. We've doubled in the last 3 weeks. We got 375 conversations in the last 7 days in terms of inbound. We're trying to sift through inbound inquiries for B2B. It's vital that I step away as the curator. So those people who you kind of guessed who are here in the previous iteration, Michelle, I was, and Victoria and I were curating because we hadn't yet figured out that we wanted to migrate across to a market model. So, and I hate to use the Airbnb context, but if you think about it, it's a bit like that. It's up to you. You are the master of your domain. So the price point, the listing, and the per person versus the unit rate. The unit rate really for B2B, it's important that it's high. You know, I want people to realize that you pay for what you get.
Right.
So I just don't want anybody to feel that we're going to be sort of managing a race to the bottom. I feel that as soon as we have had people you know, dip their toe in the water and experience what you can offer, and that we've socialized the ratings and reviews and so forth and built those up, then people are going to be assessing what you have within an environment that is safe, secure, part of a diverse community, which is absolutely the bedrock of what we're trying to achieve. And that means everything, including geographical. So absolutely everything. And the only baseline being excellence. How do you manage excellence? It's largely self-selection, and that works incredibly well. And you know, it's great to see faces here who are exceptional people. Does that work so far?
Yes, thank you so much.
And pleasure.
Hey.
We really should jump in and talk to any one of these people who are happy to chat, or and or me. So feel free to jump onto a one-to-one whenever you like. Sherry Wynn.
Yep, I got 3 events of mine coming up this week. And so I was wondering if there's any way that I could get those people to go to Elevate and, you know, mark, like have comments, even though it wasn't done through Elevate because it's on my own thing.
Yeah.
But to up that up so that people can see all these comments, is there a way to do that, or is it too late to do that?
Not at all. Victoria, you know the answer to that. We can take public comments, can't we? Do you want to show that quickly?
Sure.
How would I get them to go to my page to do that, to make comments? Because I'm sure I can get them to do it if as an ask.
Hey, by the way, Victoria's taking the call next week because I will be in Switzerland briefly. And guess what? she's getting married next Saturday. Don't tell anyone. Yay!
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Very excited, very stressed. Okay, so what Robert is talking about, Sherry, it would be perfect if it's possible for them to add their own comments and reviews here onto your listing. And the only thing that they have to do is sign up. So just like you guys signed up, they would have to sign up, add their name, their last name, and then just leave a comment. It's
So
very
if you
simple.
go, if you just highlight the URL up there, Victoria, copy and paste the URL at the top of Sherry's listing.
Okay.
And Sherry, that's where you want to send them, but actually it will go if you just use listing / and that's your listing code 1791569. So if you were able to, you could send them to there, or you could just say go to elevate.ac and look for Sherry Wynn. What do you think is most practical? It's a great question because it applies to everybody. I think everybody's got events flying off now.
So
Well,
Sherry's got
I
a
just want to
couple
get
of listings. I think it depends on what the event is about.
Yeah, so the resilience one is I'm going to hit 2 of those this week. So if I can get them to go to Elevate to do that, that would be great.
I think the best, you're going to be on stage, right? So the best thing to do is www.elevate.ac and look for me. Is that the best way to do it, or or do you want to put a URL on screen or something as you show your audience, Sherry?
Yeah, I'm thinking about maybe just putting a URL up there on the screen, let them grab it and just go right there. And I'll just wait, just say, hey, let's just do this right now. Because if you don't do it right now, they won't do it anyway. That's just how they are.
That's exactly what I remember resonating with you when I first spoke to you some time ago. Was this, and everybody, this is quite fun to think about, is on this kind of face-to-face encounter. Sherry Wynn's the master, has a masterclass in this. Is obviously after that event, Sherry, you create multiple additional events, don't you? In the old school context of, how people walk up to stage and say thanks. It's sort of that golden 3-4 minutes or so, isn't it, of handing out your card or giving them the call to action. Is this kind of an extension of that?
Yeah, so yeah, because I'm going to ask them to do something that doesn't cost them anything, but just as a favor to me, right? This is a big favor to me, and if you'll do this for me, then I'll give you X. Like, I'll give them something, a free brochure, a free, I don't know, something.
A hug, maybe?
To try to get them to, get them to do this for me. So if you do this for me, and then once I see your name there, I will email you, da-da-da-da.
Yeah, and just give them we'll give them a VIP code to watch your masterclass. I mean, that we can figure out that. We'll figure out the choreography right for you, shall we, Victoria?
That sounds good. Yeah. So that if we could just get people, because you want to get people, like you said, testimonials are really key. People they don't believe you unless they see people who have seen you and know you, and you get more of those up, then the better you are. So I think this is a great way for me in this to capture a lot of folks' comments so that I have that kind of proof, that social proof.
That's great. Aisha, thanks for joining us. So I wanted to just reiterate one other thing before we listen to Sabrina when she's joined us, and that is why being part of a community is better for you, apart from just being better for your health, than a go it alone strategy where you think actually you're competing with the rest of the world. I think there are several reasons that is the case. And, I've sort of test driven this with some people over the last several days. One of the key things is the bigger we grow in terms of us as a community and advocates, the more you're going to know, hey, I might not be able to answer this question, but there are people in Elevate that can. And to be able to socialize other people's work, then of course, the more people there are to socialize that work and who are aware of it, the more successful we'll become. Within that context, you're part of a exclusive group. Bill and I were discussing this earlier this week. Feel free to add, Bill, if you want to. Part of an exclusive group, meaning, yes, we're at the top end of speaking capability. You think you're good, I think you're great. We're going to get you to a point where, you know, we can increase that level of greatness. We can workshop technical issues. We can workshop issues of poise and presence, and we can, you know, the rising tide sort of raises all ships. We can bring everybody up to a level which I believe is absolutely essential. Somebody this week, can't remember, was talking to me about, you know, how the B2B world, how you reconcile watching Netflix in the evening and having kind of not very good Zoom calls during the day. And they're both kind of audio visual experiences. One of them is, you know, has $1 billion budget behind it. The other one doesn't. We're getting to the point where, with not very much money, you know, a couple of $100 of extra technology, lighting, various other things that all of you guys are employing, you can get to a real great level of quality in production, for example. So I think it's absolutely incredibly important for us to be able to say to you, the community is going to be better for you as a complement to your private work. And obviously it's non-exclusive, but it's something that I really hope you stick with. It'll take some time for us to sort of settle this down, for those price points to really come through, and for those things to start really flying. So Sloan, would you like to just help us explain where we got to with this listing that you made yesterday, just as by way of an example, because you're one of the pioneers of, and Bill as well, of this kind of event modality. You were completely unconscious, but I just switched it on yesterday and you jumped on it. Would you like to explain
Sure.
just briefly what you did and why you've chosen your price point? Hey, Sabrina.
Sure. So I got the email yesterday, and I've done these kinds of events before where it's like an hour. It's a low price point. It introduces the concept that I'm bringing forth, which is using applied improv for creatives, and helping them to generate content, in this case, writing. And so I used a previous listing and changed some words, and I put in a price point that I thought was very manageable, which is $25 for the US. I picked a point a month away. To your point, Michelle, pricing is always a question, and it's always something we're always fiddling with and trying to find, you know, $24.99 or $23.22, you know, all these kind of numbers. And you just try and do your best. And the same with dates. You try and pick a date that ultimately is convenient for you. There's no perfect date to catch everyone. I just picked a date that's 4 weeks from now, July 18th for the Lunch and Learn, 12 to 1 for the US. Which can capture some California people, can capture some European people, and it's all an experiment. That's my feeling, is that you put it out there, you have as much fun as you can, and you see who shows up.
Yeah, and I think it will just create some great ratings and reviews, and for those of you who's just joined us, which are going to be critical for us to be able to increase and continue to socialize the site. Those people who have masterclasses on version 2.0, which we'll come into another time, we have a learning platform with over 500 5-minute videos on all sorts of elements of poise, presence, production, leadership, empathy, diversity, and so forth. So you're welcome to go in and check it out. I'll give you, or Victoria could just give you that. VIP Elevate 1000 is the VIP code. Maybe you could just write that in, Victoria, for everybody. So if you go to learn.elevate.ac, that's our learning site, should be accessible from our current site. And you guys should be able to access all of that as potentially Sloan, Michelle, and others in preparation for those kind of events. Some people have, I'm going to jump on and introduce you to Sabrina in just a few minutes. Some people have been here a little while, and we already have done events, but we haven't done them in a way that have monetized or delivered ratings and reviews very effectively. And Tamsin's one of those. Tamsin, we did a great event where you introduced one of your specialized subjects. Do you remember? What did we call it? I can't remember.
NFTs, the very latest for art and brands.
Yeah, so
for art, brands, and big business.
Yeah, so it was great. It was well attended. We used a kind of sort of sellotape together version of LinkedIn Live, Eventbrite, and various other bits and pieces. Now we've got a new platform. Similarly, Tamsin, we could list that and we can parse across the reviews that we received and the goodwill that we received from previous people. And it's still a very hot topic and very interesting specific element, which I think has got great kind of search engine optimization capability as well. Any more questions before I introduce you back to Sabrina? Yes, sir, Bill.
So one real quick, it's not a question as much as it is a request. So Robert and I have had a considerable, pretty in-depth conversation this week about, so what is Elevate? Because when I want to go to my past clients and future clients, and I say, now I'm now a member of Elevate, inevitably somebody's going to say, so what the heck is Elevate? And as I was thinking about this, I was looking at all of the people that are sitting on the website and that I've met and so on and so forth. And I came up with kind of my version of this thing. Well, here's what it's not. You know, we've got a bunch of speakers on here, but it's not a speakers bureau. We've got a bunch of people who can do consulting, but it's not a consulting organization. We've got a bunch of people who can educate and train, but we're not a training company. And I just kind of left it off as we are in a kind of this eclectic group of professionals who have been there and done that. And if you have needs, we probably can help. But as you think about this thing, I'd really like you to either toss me how do they reach out to me directly on this? You know, it's bill.welter@mindprep.com, but whatever that is. Anyway, I would appreciate you helping me.
Well, you can contact you directly through Elevate just by finding Bill on contact. But that's a really good point, Bill.
So my question is, when you look at this wonderfully eclectic group of people, and I've commented to others that, you know, I'm dealing with a former Olympian, I'm dealing with a cop, I'm dealing with all these different people. But I'd like to be able to put it very succinctly as to, and here's what we are. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. And now I'll step out so Sabrina can go to work.
Yeah, just before I introduce Sabrina, there is a document that I am circulating to those people who are new, which does bring some of that work together that we did this week, Bill. And Victoria might just be able to link you to that on the DocSend business model, Victoria.
Sure.
Just so that you can just take a check that out as well. Any comments you have on that community wise, be very happy to get your comments and suggestions on its clarity. Okay, any other questions? Some people showing off with their Spanish, Alice, very impressive. Are we all invited to your wedding, Victoria? This is the question. No pressure, it's a public forum.
You have to book the next flight to Colombia.
That is a
You're
small,
all welcome.
it's a small hiccup on my side. I might not be able to get the babysitters that I need.
I'll send you pictures.
Send us pictures. Let's have that. Let's do that. Sabrina, the floor is yours. We want to reignite perhaps some sort of specialist leaders. Yourself, Sandra, Stephanie, in the past have been leading the diversity, equity, and inclusion element we've got now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories, and maybe this is part of how we evolve into sort of category headquarters, workshops and think tanks to help us really answer the questions correctly, and dive in and target the businesses that we want to transform. Over to you, Sabrina.
Good morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world, evening to everybody. Thank you, Robert, for letting me have a few minutes to kind of bring to you some thoughts and ideas that I've been talking with Robert and some of the others behind the scenes on. So obviously, a part of my appeal to joining Elevate was really Robert's commitment to assuring that diversity, equity, and inclusion work would be at the front, in the front seat of the work that we were able to deliver across the world. So with that, that is a part of my focus, efforts, and energy for this work. And really one of the things that we talked about was having a bit of a subcommittee. And I hate to name it like that, but I just can't think of anything else better to call it at this point. But basically, we typically have these strategy meetings weekly to talk about, obviously, all the things that we discussed. I was late today, so sorry I missed whatever may have happened. But really the goal, I think, for this subcommittee or sub-conversation is to talk about Elevate's strategy towards diversity, equity, and inclusion work, for us to understand specifically what our leaders, which is inclusive of all of us on this call, are contributing to that work. If there are people that specialize in that, then obviously we want you to participate in these meetings. And this is really for us to attack not only the overarching strategy of Elevate, but also how we can weave this into the work that everyone is doing, even if that's not your specific focus. But I think ultimately we cannot offer or deliver anything without some consideration from this lens specifically. So that's really what this side committee is about, is having us think through, talk about, and I like the word you use, Robert, think tank, around how we want to approach this work and all that we're doing. And then the goal, I think, is to then bring back to this larger group kind of what our strategy is, what our recommendations are, and to vet it with all of us as members of this larger community so that we can make that specific determination. Ryan said he considered the same thing. Well, sustainability now has become a bit of a merger as well in the diversity work, particularly with the lens of ESG. And you're seeing a lot of companies really kind of pool those two things together and make it all one. I would say probably to start, our focus will be in more of a traditional lens of DEI related work and belonging. But obviously we can't do that without some other considerations. And again, this is work that layers everything. It lays on top of kind of everything that we do. So that really is my focus. I've asked Robert to allow me to take ownership for kind of leading this work. Oh, Sherry, I'm glad that you're in because you were already in, even though you may not have known it. I had already put you on the list. So, but and obviously, Sandra and Stephanie, who've already been doing this, kind of work, we sort of got started and then we stopped, we paused a little bit, but we want to get back into kind of focusing that work. So I'll start to send some emails with Robert to talk about times that we can connect and meet upon this. But I just wanted to raise this with the larger group to talk about what we would do. I think the goal is not so much that we have a ton of people focusing in this area, because as we know, the larger you get, sometimes the harder it is to nail down the specifics. But we do definitely want to have a few select folks that want to participate, are committed to this work, and want to be a part of this part of our initiative. But super exciting. Robert, you want to say something? I guess I can let you have the mic. Go ahead.
Only if you're ready.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
There's a few things. I'll come to Ryan sustainability in a minute, because I think it's kind of like it's the equal top billing most important thing for us is to manage diversity and sustainability, in the sense that both those things are rather important for ourselves and our futures, and absolutely categorically essential as far as the organization is concerned. How we manage that potentially, Ryan, is to have you and I head up that sustainability side. But just holding on to Sabrina, and for those of you who kindly said that you'll be keen to participate, even though Stephanie seems to be hopping on and off of calls. I don't know why, she's so busy. The business development side of this, I think, is essential. I had this conversation with Sandra as well previously, is one, you'll be talking to an increasing number of diversity, equity, and inclusion specialists. Everybody has a different specialism. Everybody has a different angle. Everybody has an individual story. Everyone is original. Everybody speaks to a different demographic, to a geography, to a circumstance. And so because it is so myriad, multifaceted, it is going to be it's going to be possible for us to be able to offer up joint group-based work and responses on business development. As I continue to work through some of the inbound enterprise opportunities, I'm seeing that there is people who think they want, for example, unconscious bias training. Unwrapping that, though, from your specialist perspective is really sort of answering those questions and asking those questions on a client level, Sabrina, which we've done, haven't we, with the client that we spoke to not so long ago. And that opens up a whole big, a broader opportunity that goes to diversity in more granularity. And you get an organization that say, okay, well, send me a proposal for 10 talks instead of 1. You get an organization saying, can you collaborate on this and workshop that? And then also you get it to break out to the other essential elements of Elevate, which are sustainability, leadership, mental health. And guess what? They affect every single organization in the United States and every single organization in the rest of the world, in that order. So long as you're speaking to the correct individuals, Sabrina, we spoke to the Senior Vice President of Human Resources, right? The key word being prevention, not remediation. Transformation, not remediation. Move the agenda forward, make change, be bold, be courageous. And the people that are in those roles that we've found who want to bust open the glass ceiling and make change and make progress, they're the ones that we want to talk to. And guess what? They want the full menu. And that's what I think is fascinating. So delving back into where you were going, Sabrina, what would be great to hear is, what are the business models that we can do then? Can we get Sandra, Aisha, forgive me, we've not yet spoken, but can we have you guys who are in, Sloan, Diane, running joint or several events that are paid that we can target, for example, for you guys to have a chat about and chew over, that we can target these senior vice presidents, HR, so they can kind of get a flavor of who we are and what we offer. And then we can get into a more complex conversation with them. What do you think? What do you think, team leader?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was waiting for the other folks to chime in. I think that's a great idea. I think we have, I think a couple of things working from both directions. One, working the target audiences and companies. And then the other side of it is understanding what our plethora of talents are so that we can merge the two, so that we're going after those specific companies or organizations or things that we know need our services, but then also understanding what we have to offer so that we can tailor and fit and mold to what it is that people are looking for. So we have it from both directions as well. And offering, everything from one-on-one coaching to speaking engagements, to courses, to workshops, to seminars, to, TikTok videos, whatever it may be that we can cover, I think is ideal. But really being that unique plethora of services that basically when we go to make a pitch, there's no way to say no. You're going to take something from us and pay for it. So whatever it is, because it's needed.
And I think we did that quite successfully in the previous call. We had 5 people on that call, and each one of you introduced yourselves for a couple of minutes, and it showed that it wasn't just me. The last thing they want is this peculiar English guy talking all the time, trying to paint a picture of what we're trying to do without all your faces actually moving in the background. It's just rather absurd. So with that lead, I think I'd love to have that investigation of how we can then really now we've got this platform together. Now we've got 100+ users. Now, Ryan, we have maybe a bit of a critical mass that's been missing over the last 6 months. We can then focus in on digital skills. Tamsin, maybe Ryan, we can focus in on ESG and sustainability, and maybe we can also focus in on mental health and those things that you can drill down into. So with DEI, you can drill down and down and down and down and down. And with each of those other elements, it gets quite specialist and quite complex. And I think perhaps that's what it's worth as a recruitment device, as a business development tool, and as a, I don't know, what would you call professional best practice sharing and community development, not necessarily in all that order, but if we have 5 of those people kind of running each of those, then I think it would work very effectively. But let's kick off with Sabrina. And what are your practical next steps, Sabrina?
So I would say look for an email from, it may come directly from me, or I'll work with Victoria to get your email addresses to invite kind of our first brainstorming / planning meeting. And it's really not our first, but our continuation of that meeting, coming up for us to have some discussion at length about our focus, our strategy, where we want to begin, or what we want to continue, or things of that sort. Sort of that initial planning session. Then I'd like for us to have an opportunity after that to debrief and then bring it back to, this meeting as we see fit.
Wonderful. And it sounds like you, just from this group, you have 5 to 10
yes
people. Thank you, Alex, Sloan, Ayesha, Stephanie. How are you, Stephanie, by the way? You keep dropping your phone. Are you okay? I mean, is everything all right?
I'm good. So today is my day off, and I'm walking my dog, and I'm just having a great time. So I thought I would try and not be a huge distraction.
Beautiful. That's it.
I wanted to be a part of it.
There's always one that has to show off that they're in the beautiful outdoors.
Well, it's finally nice, so
yeah,
that's not always the case.
So this is great. And for those of us you haven't met, Stephanie, she and Sabrina have kind of created a dream team, 2 of them on workshopping over the last 6 months and experimenting with all sorts of different modalities of delivering this kind of workshop. So if we start with this workshop, I think it would be great to actually try and understand the modalities as well, the formats. All right, we covered some ground.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. Thank you, everybody that participated. I got your names. And if I missed any of you, then someone will help me figure that out. I'll watch the recording.
We'll stalk you. We'll stalk you.
Oh, good. Perfect. Thank you.
In the spirit of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the way that we ought to and we must continue on, of the 104 since we finished this phone call, people who've signed up, we need to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to participate, Victoria. So Sabrina, if you could make that kind of, a short synopsis, we'll make sure that it goes out to everybody else. We also have 2,500 users of our learning platform who are regular. We've got 32,000 followers of myself and Elevate on LinkedIn. We've got a whole bunch of other people that we also want to share our work with, and obviously you also amplify your work with. So as soon as you've got events on an individual basis that you want us to promote, then the best thing to do is to link it on LinkedIn to us, price it up, get it ready, and don't forget, just get yourselves into that kind of just out of comfort zone position. It's your agency and your motivation to get that work up and ready, and our job to amplify that out to the world and to make sure that we can push it as far and wide as we possibly can. Okay, so just reiterating, you've got in the chat, you've got a new document, which is the beginnings of our business model. You have a URL which will send you to our Learn platform. For those of you who haven't investigated, the Learn platform and the Market platform at some point soon are going to kind of merge so that they're interdependable. And you've got a lovely VIP Elevate 1000 VIP code, which gives you access to everything free of charge as our community. If you like it, I'd really appreciate that you socialize that as well, so that we can link that out. Thank you for just reiterating all that, Victoria. Victoria, do you have anything to add apart from wedding plans? Are you going to have a band? I mean,
yes, we are going to have a band, and I hope we're going to party until 2 a.m.
That's very late. It's far too late for me. I'm a 10 o'clock guy. So
here we haven't seen our family get together as a big group since 2-3 years ago. So it is going to be like a big event now that everything is getting better.
I'm sure I can speak from everybody, say you have our blessing, and I won't be there next week. So maybe everybody, you can give them a big encouragement and round of applause and sing song or whatever it is that you do next Friday.
Thank you.
And you must take the rest of the day off.
Okay.
My small gift to you after
Thank you very
after the
much.
call. It won't be Bridezilla. I know you spoke to me about that earlier. You're going to be cool as a cucumber. Don't worry about it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
As long as it's just the wedding that's stressing you out and not who you're marrying, you're good.
No, not at all. I've been with my fiance for 10 years. I met him in school, so he's the love of my life. Everything is good in that area. Mm-hmm.
That's a nice note to end on, don't you think, everybody? All right, listen, have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Tamsin, it's great to see you from South Africa. It's great to see everybody appearing from everywhere, and enjoy your weekend.
Robert, you got a second after this?
Yeah, please, just stay around, stick around. Go for it, create those event listings, go for your lives. I'll support you, and we'll keep going, we'll get a result. It's super exciting how things are moving so quickly. So take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
See you. Thanks, Michelle.
Bye, Robert.
Bye, y'all.
Victoria.
Congratulations, Victoria.
Congrats.
Bye.
Thanks, Michelle. Salut.
Ciao.